All right, I thought there was a second song, so I'll get that figured out later. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Golden Broom Podcast. As you can see, there is only one of me tonight. We got a couple guys on injured reserve, so to speak. But so tonight will not be your usual show. Tonight we're sticking strictly with interviewing and looking forward to it. We are honored to have our guest here today. This is coach of the Valdosta State baseball team out of Valdosta, Georgia, a place I kind of have a history with. It was my first duty station over there when I was stationed at Moody, and all I ever heard about was Blazer football and Blazer basketball and Blazer baseball. That's all the talk of the town, besides the Bulldogs. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest here. This is Coach JD Hulse.
Hello,
Hey
Terry.
Coach
How are
Hulse.
you?
I'm very well. How about yourself today, Coach?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being here. It's been a hectic to try to get scheduling down, but we are very happy and excited to have you here today.
Yep, we're here, ready to roll.
All right, so let's get right into it. So, you are the coach of Valdosta State baseball. When were you named head coach for Valdosta State?
Yeah, so I was actually named head coach this past June.
Oh,
So it's in year one of being head coach. So
oh,
first
okay.
go around.
Well, congrats to that and good luck to you. Now, for our audience, if you could just give us a little bit of background, take your time, tell us everything, because our audience just likes to know you as the coach with your background, your history of baseball. So, floor is
Sure.
yours,
Yeah.
coach.
So growing up, I was kind of a North Georgia guy. I was from Roswell High School, which is just north of Atlanta. So kind of Metro Atlanta baseball. Played at East Cobb for those who are familiar with the area, which is big summer ball stuff. But yeah, graduated at Roswell High School in 2007 and knew all about Valdosta State, but never thought I'd get there as a high school kid. I was just trying to find the next place to play for college ball. And I was offered a pretty good opportunity at Birmingham Southern College, which is in Birmingham, Alabama. The head
Mm,
coach at the time was Jan Weisberg. He was actually making his first season at Birmingham Southern. So I was in his first recruiting class there. And the school had just gone from Division 1 to Division 3. So at the time, we were recruited Division 1 athletes. By the time we got on campus, we would end up becoming a Division 3 school. So we were in a transition period when we got there, and it was unfortunate. We were unable to compete in any postseason baseball for 4 years just because of that transition from Division 1 to Division 3. I guess the reasoning for that is, well, we were recruited as Division 1 athletes. So you bring in quote unquote Division 1 athletes to go play Division 3 baseball. You could kind of guess there might be some whoopings along the way. And it turned out to be pretty true, actually. So we were an all freshman team just because of that transition. So all the guys that were on the team transferred out to go elsewhere. And then Jan just brought in 28 new freshmen, and he brought in maybe two sophomores, a junior, and a senior. So kind of make up a team of 32, but mainly freshmen were playing every single day. But it didn't take long for us to really gel. And before you know it, year two, year one, we went 500, as you could probably expect. A lot of new guys in a new place, trying to learn what college baseball is. But then year two, we go ahead and we win our what is our conference regular season, but that's all we could do. We couldn't compete in the postseason. So that was kind of a big goal of ours, was just to win the regular season. We did. And then in year three, my junior year, we ended up going 34-5 and finished sixth in the polls. Got as high as fourth in the national polls. And again, we couldn't even compete in postseason. So we kind of cruised through our conference and won it. It wasn't even close. We were run ruling everybody. So it was kind of unfortunate that we weren't going to be able to play postseason baseball, especially that junior year, because I felt like we had a really, really good squad that year. Had we been able to play in postseason, we would have gone a long way. And then senior year, very similar scenario, won the conference again. And that was kind of my baseball career. It was unfortunate we couldn't go postseason, but I had a blast because I knew that we were kind of the foundation blocks for building Jan Weisberg's program at Birmingham Southern. And then sure enough, ever since then, since they've been postseason eligible, they just became a powerhouse at the Division III level. Um, so when I was done playing, I tried the real world for a year, had me a desk job. It was fun for about 2 months, just because it was different. But then I started realizing, like, man, this is kind of the same thing over and over again, just going to an office and doing some work, coming home. I found out it wasn't for me pretty quickly. So I called Jan up and asked if I could potentially come on as a volunteer for the next year. And he agreed to it. So I was very thankful that he was willing to take me on as a volunteer coach at Birmingham Southern. I was there for 2 years, just, paying my dues, so to speak, in the coaching world. And we did really well. Went to 2 regionals. It was really fun. And then I got an opportunity to go coach at Louisiana Tech. And that's when I made that jump from coaching from Division III to Division I. And at the time, Louisiana Tech was kind of in a rebuilding. And I went over there with Greg Goff, who took the head coaching job there. And we turned a team from 15-40 to 42-20 in 2 years, and ended up winning, a lot of awards that year. And we lost to Mississippi State in the regional final that year. So really big turnaround in a short amount of time, just in 2 seasons. So I was really proud of that. And we did so well that Greg got the opportunity to go coach at the University of Alabama. And I had a difficult choice at that point. It was my first kind of tough decision as a coach, because it was either go with him to coach in the SEC, which is like the mecca of college baseball. But then Jan called me up again and said, "Hey, my top assistant job just opened up and it's yours if you want it." So I decided to go back home because uh, I just felt like it was the right place for me. And it ended up being a good decision, because you wouldn't know it beforehand, but a year later, Greg unfortunately lost the Alabama job. He's now at Purdue and he's doing great. But at the time, it was like, well, shoot, like he got fired, and usually the assistant coaches get fired along with him. So I would have been stuck, not knowing where to go. So thankfully, I already had a job at Birmingham Southern, and I was really motivated by that because it was my alma mater. And I wanted to help Jan get as far as he could possibly go as a head coach. And I took that very personally. So 2017, that was the year I went back. And it was great because the senior class in the 2017 season was actually my first recruiting class when I was the volunteer coach. So it was great to come back and see their senior days and see them go off and win. We made a regional final again. Unfortunately, we lost the regional final. So after that, I made it a goal of mine where it's like, man, I really want to try and get Jan to a World Series. I want to get my program to a College World Series. We've been close so many times, but for some reason, we just could not knock that door in. So in 2018, we had a bunch of new guys come in, big transition, a lot of seniors on the 17 class, and brought in 20 freshmen, kind of just like my first year as a player. So a lot of growing that year. It was a tough year. We still did fine, but we didn't win our conference, didn't win the regular season nor the tournament. So it was one of the first times where we didn't make a regional, and I was kind of disappointed in that. But sure enough, the next year, same group, we only graduated 3 players off the 18 team. And 2019, same group of guys, just 1 year older, they end up going national runner-up. So not only did we finally break the barrier and get to a College World Series, we ended up finishing second overall, which was awesome. And then we just continued to have really, really good teams following that season. Unfortunately, you had the COVID year in 20, so that was kind of a wash year. But we ended up making a regional final, which was a super regional in 2021, just because of the COVID rules and everything. So we were one of the last 16 to play. They just still called it a regional at that time. And then in 2022, they made it back to, your super regionals. And we lost in the supers, unfortunately, in 22. We had the number 1 team in the country for 6 weeks in 2023. So we had a really great team then. Unfortunately, we lost in a regional final that year. And 2024, new group of guys thinking, man, I had our shots in 22 and 23 to get back to the College World Series, and we just kept falling short. And I wasn't sure about the 24 team. And sure enough, that's the team that ends up making it to the College World Series. But I think what really was the motivation for that particular team is that was the year we found out that Birmingham Southern, after COVID and everything, was already kind of in financial struggles. And I think COVID just kind of, that was the straw. And our school did everything they could to try and get loans from the state. Unfortunately, the state of Alabama was not willing to help us out. So we unfortunately had to close the school at the end of the 24 season. We had to tell our guys that on their spring break in the 24 season. So it was heart crushing for the team and for the coaching staff and everybody who was involved with it. But I think it gave those guys a little bit of freedom, knowing like, well, we got nothing else to play for. So it was amazing to watch the transformation of their play ever since they heard the news. And it was amazing how they just took off to another level and ended up making it to the College World Series again. So that was great. And it was a great experience to kind of go out with a bang for the school. As a matter of fact, the last 2 days, we weren't even the Birmingham Southern College Panthers anymore. The school had closed. So we were just the Panthers the last couple of days, which was really interesting. But it was fun and I enjoyed it. But then once it was all over, it was like, well, got to find another job. The school's no more. So I had a couple head coaching opportunities in Virginia. Had one high school opportunity in the state of Georgia. But then Jan called me and was like, hey, I got the head job at Valdosta State. And being a Roswell kid, I knew all about Valdosta State growing up and how successful the baseball program was. And that actually gets me a little bit closer to my family, gets closer to my wife's family. So to me, it was kind of a no-brainer. Like, I'll just follow Jan to Valdosta State. And that's what we did for the 25 season. We did really well, finished runner-up in conference. Unfortunately, I think we probably fell one, maybe 2 games short of making a regional last year, but it was still a really good season. And then before you know it, I don't think Jan was necessarily looking for another job, but Eastern Kentucky popped up, and I think he kind of knew some of the people in that administration over there, and they knew him. So they reached out to him and said, hey, you want to be our head coach at Eastern Kentucky? And he's from Kentucky. He coached at University of Kentucky for a long time. So his family's there. His son plays college baseball in Kentucky. His family, his wife's family, all live there. So it's kind of a no-brainer for him. And he told me, like, hey, if you want to come with me, by all means, but I really think you should try to pursue the head coaching job here. And so I applied for it, and thankfully, Troy Caton, our athletic director, has given me an opportunity. So I'm really grateful to be where I am.
That is a great story. Looks like we got some comments here already and questions for you. So first one's for Chris. He'd like to offer his apologies. Said he couldn't make it to chat with us.
All good, Chris.
Now, in relation to your talk about Birmingham Southern shutting down, he does ask how you feel about Birmingham Southern being shut down.
I mean, I was heartbroken as well. You know, that was my alma mater. It was my home for a long time. I lived on campus with my family there. And so it wasn't just I was losing a school. I was literally losing our home. So I was crushed by that. I was anxious knowing, what's the next move. Wasn't sure what it was going to be, where it was going to be, if it was going to be. And I was pretty bitter at the state of Alabama, too. I'm going to be honest. It was one of the top private schools in the state. Outside of Sanford, and we're right across the street from them. And it's like, yeah, we're probably the next one in line in terms of the quality of education that all those kids get there. And I could not believe that the state was willing to let one of their best collegiate institutions just go. Yeah, definitely bitter at the state of Alabama for sure.
All right, we have another one. He's mentioned Roswell, Georgia. So Chris has another question about Roswell.
Yes, Roswell, Georgia. It is a suburb. Chattanooga used to be kind of in I think they called them regions at the time when I was playing. So, yeah, we would always play Chattanooga once or twice every single year just to, compete against them within the region. But it's changed so many times now. I have no idea if they're still, in the same region or not. My guess is probably no. Gotcha. But when I was playing, it was.
We got Sam here. We got another question here from Sam. When you mentioned about the COVID era earlier.
Yeah, so let me see here.
Do you think COVID era helped give college players more growth having 6 years? Seems like more pros are coming from college nowadays.
I mean, I think it's definitely going that direction. I wouldn't say it's tough to say did it help, um, because when COVID happened, Major League Baseball decided to make a drastic change in how they, set up their minor leagues as well. So that was a time when they decided to start cutting back. All of a sudden, the draft went from 40 rounds down to 5 rounds that particular year in COVID. So there were a lot of guys that were really good players that just didn't get picked up because there weren't nearly as many rounds. So uh, NCAA kind of responded and said, well, then yeah, you'll get another year back. And MLB decided to go back to 20 rounds, but it's still cut in half. So a lot of players, didn't get picked up again. So what's happening is, yeah, a lot of guys try and stick around in the college game for a little bit longer in hopes that maybe they'll get picked up by a major league team. And I mean, it did work for a lot of guys, but there were also a bunch of guys that stuck around until they were 24 playing college baseball, which is nuts. Um, that's probably been the biggest change that I've seen this particular year, especially at the Division II level. Is last year our average age across our infield was 23 years old, and now it's down to 19 and a half, 20 years old. And that's across the board. There's a lot of teams like that where we had a bunch of fifth year, even sixth year guys last year that they were the last class from the COVID era. I'm sorry, and it was just crazy to see 24-year-old guys still playing college baseball. So I'm happy that they at least got their chances to get their years of eligibility in. But at the same time, it's also kind of like, okay, well, I'm glad we're through that now. So now we can kind of get back to what college baseball should be, which is anywhere from 18 to 22-year-olds, not 23, 24-year-olds.
Gotcha. Okay, we have another Chris question here from Chris. It says, as a first year head coach, how hard has it been to deal with ins and outs like one of the smaller schools like Valdosta State?
I wouldn't say it's not difficult. It's just different. There's different responsibilities. I've always been used to doing all the recruiting and trying to work with the hitters every single day and really getting, diving deep into their swings and working with them on the position side of things. I'm an outfield coach, so I would always be out there every single day with them. And that was who I worked with. And
Mm-hmm.
now being a head coach, it's like, well, I would still like to do that stuff, but there's just more responsibility to it. Like I can't just watch the outfielders. I can't just watch the hitters. I have pitchers. I have infielders. I have catchers. So I have to make sure that I'm watching everything. So now I'm more of like a rover at practice, making sure everything's running properly. And I just trust my assistant coaches to do what I did when I was an assistant coach. And then when it comes to the recruiting side of things, I still do some, but it's interesting. There's a lot more fundraising that is involved when you're the head coach. So I never really had to do any fundraising as an assistant. So I would say that's probably the biggest transition is going from recruiting players to now recruiting money to try and find from other people who are interested in helping our program. So that's probably the biggest transition. Making sure that all the operational stuff is running up to speed and we're staying on schedule with everything. Um, I don't have a director of operations like big Division I schools do, so I have to make sure that every detail is accounted for, which is fine. It's not overwhelming or stressful. It's just making sure that yeah, we do have a place to stay when we go on the road. Yep, I do have a bus lined up. I have all this, the meals scheduled out. I know who we need to bring, what we need to bring, what time we're planning on doing it. And, so it's just all those little details that it's just a little bit different. And I'm amazed of how much paperwork there is. I thought I'd be on the field a little bit more, but I'm in my office a lot more now, just because there's a lot more that I have to do again from the operational side of things. But it's all good though. I'm enjoying it.
Got you. Well, I mean, Chris asked another question, and I was actually going to ask you this if nobody commented. It's in regards to NIL. So here's his question here. It says, how strong is the NIL program at Valdosta State as compared to other teams in the conference?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of NIL at the Division II level compared to the Division I level. So there might be some NIL money, but it might be directed towards football or basketball. It's not necessarily directed at baseball or smaller sports. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of Division II schools that have zero NIL dollars, period. I know that our athletic director, Troy Caton, he's not opposed to it. But at the same time, it's not like he's just chasing it, trying to make sure that we get all this NIL money. So he's not that concerned about it. But at the same time, if there's people willing to give us some NIL money, I don't think he would turn it down either. So it's definitely a new world though with the NIL stuff. So I think he's trying to also make sure that he's playing it correctly. Like he's not trying to go in it too quickly and not know the ins and outs of what that actually is and what it requires. So it's definitely making its way, but we're not nearly there like a bunch of Division 1s are. I would say there's actually probably only a few schools in Division 2 across the country that have any NIL money directed towards baseball programs. There are a few. We actually played one of them this past week, but there's only a handful, probably, if I had to guess.
Gotcha. All right. So this is a question, or yeah, it'd be a question to kind of shine some light. Say, if any of our viewers that may be looking to play baseball one day at a collegiate level, or if someone watching has a kid that is dedicating all their time to playing baseball, and as they grow up, look eventually towards college. Now, even though Valdosta State's Division 2, in your words, and let's say, just speaking for Valdosta State, because I'm going to ask the same question to any other coach that may come on. In your words, why would it be a golden opportunity? Well, before I say that, because some people probably get discouraged as far as, oh, they didn't make a Division 1 school. They probably think, oh man, it's the end of the world. I didn't get my dream school. What do I do now? But in your words, why would, say, at Valdosta State, for example, Division 2 school, very well known, in my opinion, why would playing there is a golden opportunity to, say, further enhance your baseball career? Whether it's if you're going to take it to being a player coach or maybe go pro one day, whatever the case may be. And so, like, to kind of shed some light on it for our viewers, why it's
so
not an
I would
opportunity
tell
to pass up.
I would tell any of those kids, like, man, I don't think you understand just how good Division 2 baseball actually is. I think people have in their heads they have this picture of what it's supposed to look like, and they think that they're not quite as good, they're not as talented or anything like that. And I think a lot of people don't understand it's still a bunch of grown men out there playing baseball. You've been playing kid baseball, even if you're at a really good high school or a really good college. A summer league team. It's like you're still playing a bunch of high school kids. And now you're about to go up against grown men. And the game is faster. They're more physical. They're stronger. They throw harder. They locate better. They execute more often. And just because maybe you don't get that dream school at Division 1, it's probably for good reason. It's probably you're not meant to be there, at least at 18 years old. And nowadays, with the transfer portal, there's less and less kids coming out of high school going to a big Division 1. You have to be the cream of the crop to be picked up by a Division 1 school. And just because you get picked up by them does not mean you're going to be playing for them at all. There's only a handful of those handful that get actual playing time their freshman year. So I keep trying to tell a lot of kids, hey, what do you really want? Do you want to just be able to say you want this Division 1 program, and then when you get there, maybe you don't play a whole lot? Is that what you really wanted? Or do you want to actually play a lot? Because there is a difference. When I'm going through the recruiting experience with these kids, it's like, so you have three things you really need to look at. One is your ego, which is the drip, which all guys do, and there's not a problem with that. I love guys who have a little bit of an ego. That's good. Maybe there's some confidence in there. It's like, but realistic expectations. If you're just looking for Division 1, well, that's fine. You can do that, but you also have to understand, like, you may not play a lot. And you may not go to a winning program either. But if the label says Division I and that's all you're chasing because it's ego driven, that's your call, and that's totally fine. But you need to know if that's what you're really wanting, because it's those other two where it's like, well, do you want to play a lot? If you want to play a lot, you can go look across the board. There's not a lot of freshmen, even sophomores at a lot of these places that are playing every day. So do you really want to walk into that knowing, yeah, I could work as hard as I possibly can? There's no guarantees that I play for even 2 years before I even could potentially step on the field. And it's like, well, if you want to play and play early, that may not be the right move then. And then also a winning program. There's a bunch of guys that go to these, Division I programs and they get their teeth kicked in every single weekend, and that's not fun. But again, if you're okay with not being in a winning program, you just want to be at the Division I level to get that experience and that exposure. Hats off to you. At least going in. So those are really the big three things that I ask guys about. So that way, it's not to necessarily point a guy in my direction. It's to help that kid understand what he's truly walking into. Because I think a lot of kids nowadays, they just try to make a quick decision. They see all the things happening on social media, and they want that glory of being able to put out that, that tweet or, put on Instagram like, hey, I'm blessed to go to a Division I, but they haven't asked any real questions before they even decided to do that. And I think that's why you see there's so many guys in the transfer portal now, is they're not asking those questions during the recruiting process. They're asking them when they get on campus, when it's too late. And then they're getting a dose of reality of like, oh, wow, like maybe this wasn't the right choice. So I try to do that with these guys to give them a little bit more clarity on what they're walking into before they commit anywhere. But I also try to tell these guys, like, it's really physical. I think junior college is also a really, really good option for a bunch of kids now coming out of high school. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but again, if you want to truly play more often and still develop, because you're getting a lot of game exposure, I think junior college is another great outlet for a lot of these kids. And then you can go potentially get to that dream school of yours. It may be in year 3 instead of year 1, but you still have an opportunity to make that happen. So I just try to make sure that they see all the different options that are out there instead of just being very short-sighted and narrow-minded and there's only one avenue, because that's just not true at all. So that's what I try to do to help these kids as best as possible.
Okay, let's say I will be changing kind of lanes in the direction we're going with the interview, but because I do have a question here in the comments section. So this is kind of in relation. Now, let's talk strictly prospects that are eyeing your school. Like, what's a message you would give to them? Let's say if they are watching or whenever you talk to them, why they should go to Valdosta State.
I would tell them for those specific reasons I just mentioned, where you're still going to be able to develop immediately. I mean, that's what we hang our hat on, is our player development. You hear about guys getting picked up all the time at Division I schools, like, oh yeah, this guy got drafted here. We have this many draft picks. And it's like, well, to be fair, guys, they were good enough. They got drafted out of high school. So is it player development, or you just picked up the best high school kids in the country and they got on your team and then they got drafted again when they were draft eligible again? Doesn't necessarily mean it's a direct correlation to player development. So when guys come to a place like Valdosta State, that's the one thing we will guarantee is your player development will increase. Some of them exponentially. It just depends on how much they really want it. So if they're looking to become the best baseball player they can be with their skill set, we will do everything in our power to make sure that that comes to fruition for them. I also try to tell them that, you're still coming to Titletown. That's what Valdosta's nickname is, Titletown. There's so many championships here in Valdosta that's what you're walking into. That's the expectation, is we're trying to go win a title every single year. May not happen every single year, but that is the expectation. So you're going into a program where they really believe that that's going to happen. So from a winning environment, like, that's what hopefully everybody wants to go into. And then, yeah, we still have great facilities. It's a very affordable, especially if you live in the state of Georgia. We have the Hope Scholarship, which is huge. So if you have a 3.0 coming out of high school in Georgia, you're going to get a nice little chunk of money heading your way to a state school like Valdosta State. So there's a bunch of check marks that Valdosta State can cross, for a bunch of these players looking for a place to play.
Okay, now my next question. As far as your current roster right now and your players, some of them do they see education just as important as baseball? Because let's face it, you always got to have a plan B. Me, when I was first separated from the military, honestly, I didn't have a plan B, so I was kind of struggling with my transition. However, with education and plan B, how important is it for education of some of those guys? Or are they just there to, or some of them they're just use it as a stepping stone in hopes to maybe go Division I or go straight to the draft? Who knows?
I think a lot of them, they still have aspirations to play past collegiate baseball, which is great. I mean, I want those type of guys. They're driven in the sport that I coach and try to make a living off of. So it's always great to have motivated players who want to be the best they possibly can on the field. And I love that. But I would say, I'm not going to say I have a bunch of angels on my team who are just perfect in every way. There's some that find the education extremely important. There are some where it's like, yeah, that's partly why I'm here. I'm getting some help from the baseball team to get my education, which is great. And then there are probably a few where it's like, yeah, I'm just here for baseball, and I'll just take whatever degree I can find if I can make it happen. But I'm proud to say that last semester I had all but two guys meet our goal of a 3.0 GPA. So that was great to see. And I'm hoping for the same thing. We'll see here in a few weeks when the spring semester finishes. But I think we'll have some really good grades again. So I think I've got some guys in here that do care about the importance of their education and finishing here at Valdosta State, because we do preach that to them. It doesn't matter who you are. At some point, you're going to be too old to play the game, and it's going to be done with you. And you need to find out what you want to do for life after baseball. So we try to get that message across to them. So that way they're still going in a direction where, like you said, there is a plan B, just in case baseball does not work out for them.
All right. So my next question here is also from Chris. So we're going to change lanes again. We're going to go say coaching and your personal life. And Chris here said, I see the sign in the background with the names Harper and Hayden. I'm guessing those are your children's names. Can you tell us about how his family and how the coaching profession affects them?
Yes. So I do have two little girls. Harper, she's actually turning 7 on Tuesday. And Hayden is 5 years old. So they both go to the same elementary school, which is great. And they've really enjoyed it there. We live in a great neighborhood here in Valdosta. And my wife is blessed to have a remote job where she can work from home and still be, here when the girls get off the bus every day. So very thankful and feel very blessed for what we have here. And I would say that they've embraced the coaching world just because they have somewhere to be every Friday night, every Saturday afternoon. If we're at home, they know that they have a place where they can go play and have fun and see their dad on the field. And I'm thankful that my wife is willing to do that, and she does so much for our family. So I'm grateful for everything that she does, because I definitely would not be here without her for sure. So there's definitely some struggles and hard times because I am away a good bit. There's travel involved. There's late nights at the field, and right now we are in the middle of our season. I got back at 2 a.m. this morning from a road trip. I was gone Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we were also on the road that Tuesday. So I was only home for 2 nights last week. So a lot of that comes down to my wife having to make sure that the girls get to school and everything. And then come summertime, they know that I have to go out and recruit. So there are definitely some harder times throughout the year for sure. But thankfully, my wife has been with me long enough now to where she kind of gets the rhythm of everything. And it's a little bit different now being year one as a head coach. So a couple things have had to shift slightly, but not too drastically, to where she's still kind of been ready to take on the season.
Mm-hmm. All right, awesome. Now we're going to get back to we saw his personal life here. So we got another question here from Chris because he heard you mention about junior college earlier. Says a friend of show of him, Coach Hamsley at Roan State. What are some of the JUCO programs that you have developed in terms of bringing kids from JUCO, say, to Division II?
Yeah, so it's interesting. When I was at Birmingham Southern, we were a private liberal arts school, cost a lot of money. So it's not every day you're going to get 10 to 12 kids coming out of the junior college realms every day. It's just we didn't have any athletic scholarships, so the cost was the cost. And a lot of kids going to junior college for the most part don't like to generalize, but they're definitely not paying $45,000 to go to school. And so I really didn't have that many relationships for the junior college ranks at Birmingham Southern. I knew about them, but I didn't really have a bunch of really developed relationships out of it just because it's like, well, we both knew like we could talk about their players all we want, but how many am I actually going to get is a whole nother question, and it's a whole nother story. So when I shifted over to Valdosta State, it was definitely a transition on the recruiting side of things because now I can talk to these guys, be like, hey, now I am at a place where it's a state school and we can give out scholarships to where we can make this a little bit more affordable for a bunch of these players. So that's been nice, but I'm still developing them because it's still ultimately it's 1 year, maybe starting to finish 2 years of trying to develop some of these relationships. But I being in Alabama, like I have a lot of junior colleges out of the state of Alabama that have tried to pass me along kids, which has been great. We have a couple in Tennessee that I've talked to for sure. It doesn't necessarily mean I've got players from them, but definitely trying to get players from them. And from Florida as well. Those are kind of the three big ones that are outside the state of Georgia. Junior college isn't as big in the state of Georgia. There's only a handful, probably 4 or 5 junior colleges in the state. But I'll try to get players out of there too if I think they're good enough. And thankfully, the junior college guys, like they're so awesome because they're just trying to help their kids get to that next level, no matter what it is. So they always do a great job, regardless of where you look. They are trying to make sure they're doing what's best for their players. So again, they're not going to tell me, hey, you don't need to go after this kid. They'll be real with me and say, like, hey, this guy may have a bunch of Division I looks and offers, but doesn't mean they're going to say you can't reach out to him. So they'll always pass along contact information from players if I ask them. And then, if it doesn't work out for the player, it doesn't work out. But it's not the coach's fault. It's the player's decision ultimately. So I'm just grateful that they're willing to give me the information needed to try and get their players.
Awesome. Now we're gonna kind of go more in depth with baseball now. Let's say if I'm visiting Valdosta again, or anybody that might be coming through the town, and it just so happens to be during baseball season, I'm like, oh, I want to catch a game, or if let's say they're going to be stationed at Moody Air Force Base, for example, and they want to catch a game. Every team, as we know, and this is what I've asked every coach so far, every team has a bitter rival. So for Valdosta State University, who is like for me, I told you before the show, I'm a UCLA fan. I hate the USC Trojans with the passion on all sports.
Right.
Who would you say is the hated rival? And that would be the game that I'd want to see in person.
Yeah, I think, there's always a couple different rivalries. There's usually like an in-state rival, and then there's like a conference rival. There's a couple of them out there that a school may have. I always used to think when I was at Birmingham Southern, it's like, yep, Alabama always has Auburn, and they always have LSU. Like those are the two big games. One's in-state, but then the other one is like, you're going up against one of the other great teams within your conference. So that's kind of how I identify it. When it comes to the conference, I would say we've definitely been up there with West Florida and Delta State. Those are two of the most consistent teams within the conference over the years, just historically. West Florida is the closest one to us in conference, which is nuts. It's like 4 hours away, but I think that one is good. It's unfortunate because they're actually about to make the jump to Division I. So this is actually going to be our last year with them. But Delta State's always been a really big powerhouse in Division II baseball. So our guys always get excited when we're trying to play them. which has always been a good rivalry in my opinion. And then when it comes to in-state, I mean, I guess maybe one of the closest ones would be Georgia Southwestern, just because they're one of the closest, to us. It's about an hour and a half away from us, so we actually play them Tuesday night, actually at their place. So that'll be a fun one, and I think it's just you get a kind of that South Georgia rivalry in that one, which guys always enjoy.
Kind of like Lowndes County High School and Valdosta High School.
That's right. That's right. You get taste
So
of both.
you mentioned who's it? Florida, West Florida, correct?
West Florida,
And they're going to be making the jump to Division One, correct?
correct.
Are they still on your schedule?
They are. They're actually not this weekend coming up, but the next weekend. And we'll be at their place. So that'll be the last time that we go to West Florida.
We'll send them away with the going away loss. And they send them to
Yeah,
Division
that's the
One.
goal. Yeah, that's the goal.
Hold on one second. Got a thing here. All right, I'll get to that one in a second, Chris. No, actually, no, I'll get to that one right now. So, this is from Chris. And if you met the other co-hosts, we all love food. So, let's say if the three of us or any of us were going to come, let's say, visit you and your school. And obviously, we like to eat. Would you host us or would you take us somewhere? Someplace that's exclusive to Valdosta, or like some kind of family recipe thing you'd like to introduce us to at your house? What would it be?
I mean, my wife does all the cooking around here. So if she'd be up for it, she can put something together. But there's also a really, really good steakhouse that's about 4 or 5 miles from our house called Austin's. And it is spectacular. Every time I go there, I just feel extremely satisfied afterwards, thinking like, yep, I made the right choice tonight. Really, really good steak, really good environment. It's just a really, really good local steakhouse. So I would probably lean towards that, to be honest. And then if you want to,
we gotta
again,
give
the
her a
house is
break.
4 or 5 miles down the road, so we can go there if we need to.
Good. She needs that break too, especially the guests.
Yeah.
Like, no, sure, we're gonna go eat.
Yeah.
Let's see. I had something on my mind. Okay, this is something Chris would usually ask. So let's say in the event you come off a really bad loss, like almost like completely embarrassing. You almost say got no hit, or even suffered a no hitter, and just everything went wrong in the game. To kind of get your spirits back up, let's say on the bus ride home, whatever time it may be, you can't sleep, whatever, you can't rest, you got the game on your mind. Who would be the one person in your phone, one or two, depending on what the case may be, who would you call on your phone to kind of remotivate you?
Yeah, I think it would be my dad. He's always been, fan number one for a long time. And he always tries to find the positive in things. And he's always going to try and, as upset as I may be, he'll try and keep things in perspective for me. And he was a high up in his job. He actually just retired, but he helped kind of build a company up from the ground up. And he was the COO of the company for 25 years, almost 30 years. And, he would always kind of tell me, it's like, hey, man, here's some of the things you need to do as a leader, within your baseball team. It's just kind of, here's some of the things that I did with my company, where it's like, yeah, you can be thinking all those bad things. It's like, but you got to make sure that those guys are staying up, and keep them motivated, keep them positive, even as bad as it may have been. It's like, you got to find a way to get them going in the other direction. Because if you just dwell on the negativity all the time, it's like they're just going to dive into it as well. And then now you're just digging yourself a hole. It's going to be that much harder to get out of it.
Awesome.
So he always does a really good job of trying to, keep my head level for me.
That's good. That's very good. Let's see. I can't think of anything else. Well, I think that'll wrap things up right there. Once again, I'd like to thank you, Coach, for appearing on the Golden Broom. You made your debut on our show, and as well as me making our debut going this thing solo. So we do appreciate you.
Terry. You did great, Terry.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Thank you guys. I wish you
Absolutely.
luck the remaining of the season. Remember what I said about West Florida? Send them with
Will
that going
do.
away gift. We'll be pulling for you.
Sounds great.
And yeah, well, thank you again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, you're welcome back anytime. And if there's any of your players, if they're watching, if they knew you're going to be on the show, we'd love to have some players on too and kind of get like a ball player perspective.
Yeah.
On how things going for them, and what also get to know them, kind of like we got to know you with your history and what their goals are. Like, let's say their plan B, so to speak. So
for sure.
But
that sounds
thank
great.
you again, Coach. And
absolutely.
Hold on. Shout out to Coach Jones for joining. Great job, thank you, Chris. So I will see you around. I have your number, and we'll keep in contact just to see how everything's going outside of baseball.
Good.
So, yeah, thank you again on behalf of the Golden Broom. Also, happy birthday, you said, to Harper on Tuesday?
Yes, Harper turning
so
7 years
old.
old.
Golden Broom, we'd like to wish her a happy birthday.
Well, thank you. I'll let her know.
All right. Thank you very much, Coach.
All right. Thanks, Terry.
All right, everybody. I think I'm going to wrap that up. I'm not going to lie. I was nervous at first. This is like first time really going solo with something like this, and thrown into the, I guess, lion's den, as the expression goes. But thank you all. Thank you for everyone commenting. Thank you for the 104 people watching. And next time we look to continue to get more coaches on the show, as well as players. And if anyone wants to give us a follow, before I forget, that reminds me, speaking of following, if you want to follow Valdosta Baseball, this is for their Instagram. You got _State_baseball. Or if you're going to follow them at X, it's at @VState, capital V, then State_baseball. So give them a follow. I know I have already, because like I said, I kind of have a history with the town, not so much the team, but I want to kind of develop those relationships and just expand everything. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you next week, Sunday. If there's any change in the time, I know today we had to start earlier due to the coach being on East Coast time, and he spends the evening with his family, which is totally understandable. So if there's any changes in time, we'll let you know. If not, we'll see you next Sunday, 8:30 Central Time, and look forward to seeing you all again. Thank you, and have a great night.
On the diamond where they play, sweeping competition every day.